The moment I saw the letter shoved under my front door, my stomach twisted. The envelope had no return address, just my name written in bold, jagged letters. Inside was a single sheet of paper with typed words that froze me in place. Pay me. $100,000 within 10 days, or I'll make sure your family's life is destroyed. It wasn't just a threat. It was personal. At the bottom was a scanned signature I recognized instantly. It belonged to Gregory Harlan, a local lawyer who had once represented my late father in a property case. This man had a reputation around town. Charming in the courtroom, but ruthless behind the scenes. People whispered about bribes, shady deals, and broken lives, but no one had ever dared confront him. Till now, he had always seemed untouchable. I held the letter in shaking hands, thinking of my wife, Alina, and our teenage daughter, Sophie. We had just rebuilt our lives after losing Dad. My father's land, hundreds of acres on the edge of town, was finally ours, free of dispute. Now this vulture wanted to sink his claws into it. When I showed Alina the letter, she went pale. He knows about the land, she whispered. That's what this is about. He wants us to hand it over. Gregory had represented Dad years ago during a bitter fight with the county over water rights. My father had won, but afterward he stopped trusting Gregory. He said the man was too slick, too greedy. Now it made sense. Gregory must have kept copies of old documents and was planning to twist them into leverage. The next day, my fears were confirmed when Gregory called me directly. His voice was smug, like he was reading lines from a script. "You'll pay what I ask?" he said. "Or I'll file a lawsuit claiming your father illegally acquired that land. I'll drag your family name through the mud, and by the time it's over, you'll be bankrupt. But if you cooperate, if you hand me $100,000, this all disappears." My blood boiled. He wasn't just threatening me, he was mocking the legacy my father worked for. But instead of yelling, I forced calm into my voice. "I'll think about it," I told him. That night, I couldn't sleep. Lena held my hand and whispered, "We can't give him the money. It'll never end." Men like him always want more. She was right. Giving in meant he'd bleed us forever. But fighting him alone would be like wrestling a snake. Gregory had influence, connections, and the confidence of a man who thought he was untouchable. That's when I remembered something Dad once said. A bully only wins until someone shines a light on his dirt. So I decided to shine that light. One was evidence. I started recording every interaction. The next day, Gregory called again, this time demanding I meet him in person. I agreed, slipping my phone into record mode before I entered his office. His office was exactly as I remembered: mahogany shelves, expensive leather chairs, and certificates plastered across the wall. Gregory sat behind his desk, smiling like a predator who had already caught his prey. "You have 3 days," he said, tapping his pen. "Cash, no checks, no transfers. Do it or I'll bury you in court." I leaned forward, feigning fear. What if I can't get the money in? Time. His grin widened. "Then your family suffers. Simple as that." I walked out of that office with my heart pounding, but also with a crystal clear recording. The next 72 hours were hell. Gregory began sending texts filled with threat screenshots of legal documents he claimed to have, warnings that he had friends in high places. Sophie came home from school crying one afternoon because a strange car had been parked across the street, watching our house. That was the moment I knew this wasn't just extortionate, it was psychological warfare. He wanted us terrified, desperate, broken. But I wasn't about to break. I contacted a friend, Daniel, who worked with the state attorney's office. I handed him the recordings, the letter, the text, everything. Daniel's eyes widened. "Isn't just blackmail. This is organized harassment. If we play this right, we can nail him." The plan was simple, but dangerous. String Gregory along, make him believe I was going to pay, and catch him in the act of demanding the money. 2 nights later, Gregory called again. "Time's up. Bring the money tomorrow, 9 p.m. to the parking. Garage downtown. Top level. Come alone." Hiding my trembling hands from Alina as I hung up. The thought of walking into his trap made my stomach churn. But I knew law enforcement would be there to hidden, waiting. The next evening, I drove into the dark, echoing garage with a duffel bag full of fake bills. Gregory stood there wearing his smug grin, a pistol tucked under his jacket. "You actually did it," he sneered. "Maybe you're smarter than your old man after all." I forced a nervous laugh. "Here's the money. Now leave my family alone." As he reached for the bag, red and blue lights exploded around us. Dozens of officers surged forward, weapons drawn. Gregory froze, then tried to run. But two officers slammed him against a pillar. His face twisted from smugness to panic as they snapped handcuffs on his wrists. "You can't do this. I'm a lawyer. I'll ruin you all." But his words fell flat against the echo of the garage. The first time he looked small-pathetic. In the weeks that followed, the truth came crashing down. Investigators uncovered years of blackmail schemes tied to Gregory. Families he'd bled dry, clients he'd manipulated, even businesses he had extorted. He wasn't just a bad lawyer, he was a predator hiding behind the law. At trial, the recordings sealed his fate. When the jury heard him calmly threaten my family, gasps filled the courtroom. He was sentenced to a long prison term for extortion, harassment, and fraud. I'll never forget the moment the judge read the verdict. Alina squeezed my hand, tears streaming down her face. Sophie whispered, "We're safe now, Dad." Safe. That word had never felt so heavy, so real. Looking back, I realized how close we came to losing everything. And Gregory thought he could manipulate us because we were just an ordinary family. But what he didn't count on was our refusal to break-hand the power of exposing the truth. Evil thrives in shadows. But once you drag it into the light, it crumbles. And Gregory is rotting in a cell now, stripped of his license, his reputation. In ruins, every time I drive past that courthouse, I remember the look on his face when the cuffs clicked shut. That was the moment that predator became the prey. And I made sure my father's legacy was protected not just for me, but for my family. And for every other victim Gregory thought he could destroy,